Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking into one of the coolest examples of real-time broadcast graphics in Unreal Engine. I'll start by showing you how to bring the Epic Games sample project into the application. Then we will explore what a rundown motion design asset is and how to use and customize one to build your own lower third graphics. We'll also touch on a few material designer basics and few tips. So even if you are new to Unreal, don't worry, I will walk you through everything step by step. Finally, I will show you how to take your own lower third live on screen using the NDI Framework. Perfect for live shows, streams, and even virtual productions. This tutorial is packed with tips, tricks, and workflow insights. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. Our journey starts right from the Fab website. Head over to the Epic Games channel and look for Sports Broadcast Motion Design Sample, and that will take you straight to the page. I've also dropped in the link in the description so you can get there with just one click. Once you're on that page, simply save the project to your library and add it to your Unreal Engine. You can also create a brand new project that way. So if I open my Epic Games launcher, you can create a project this way, and that gives you this folder structure with your U project ready to go. Let's run this U project and continue inside the editor. This is what you get when you open the U project. So pretty much an empty scene, an empty outliner. I'm going to switch to motion design or Shift 9 and go straight into content drawer. So you have a set of folders at your disposal, but since we are going to focus on the rundowns and lower third rundown in particular, I'm just going to go into rundowns folder. From here, we have different types of rundowns, like for example, full screen, opened and monitor walls. We have OTS, PIP. What we are looking for is actually lower third, and that gives us all the lower third assets to customize. I'm just going to double click on it and it's going to open the lower third rundown for us. Let's have a look at this window because we have not covered this window on this channel. Basically, you would use this window when you're working on graphic driven type of visuals, things like broadcast packages, title sequences, abstract animations, or motion heavy cinematics. It's part of the motion design system, and I personally used it for animated titles, transitions, or in this case, broadcast graphics in a very organized way. When you open Rundown Editor, you see mainly three panels: Pages, Page Design, and Page Preview. Page panel is basically your project structure, and each page represents a design or motion segment. For example, one page might be a lower third, and another page might be a logo animation, or another might be a transition. So they all show up here, and based on what you're selecting, you can inspect the parameters in the page details. It gives you all the settings and parameters for specific elements like material override or any custom variables you've exposed through blueprints. You can find them all here. And finally, we have Page Preview panel, and that gives you a live visual preview of your selected page. Let's say I'm going to select this one. You can see that one is a lower third. Now, this points to a scene that this lower third has been constructed. So if you want to have a look at this lower third, you know where to find it. If I go into my content drawer and go into scenes, it should be somewhere around here. This carries this lower third. In order to customize that lower third, you need to customize and open this level. And of course, you can preview that. You can preview it here. So if I click on it, the preview shows up. When it's red, it means that it's showing. When it's yellow, these sandwich bars, it means that it's available. So why not targeting this one right here and customize it to our taste? I'm just going to show you how I customize these lower thirds to my own taste, but feel free to target any of these and change the order and style if need be. Okay, so we know what to open. I'm gonna go into content drawer, and first I'm going to actually dock that, and I'm going to open this little guy as well. This is what we're going to edit. I don't need the remote control at the moment, so I'm just going to close it. I'm going to give myself a little bit of real estate. We don't really need the sequencer unless you want to change the animation. To see things better, again, I'm going to switch to motion design so I can collapse the persistent level and go into world transform, and I've got all the assets at my disposal. At any point of time, you can click on them here and select them in your motion design outliner. So let's see what we're dealing with. First things first, it's always a great idea to have a look at the icons right next to each section. You can see I have main, and main is going to look after this section on the right hand side. I've got the title, which allows me to customize that title. You can see each section has got an anchor point like a group, and I can collapse them and expand them if need be. So title is going to allow us to customize the title here. Chip, I believe, is the name of this character, which you can replace with your own logo or any type of logo. In this particular lower third, we also have chevrons. I think it's a Latin word for rafter. I don't know, someone needs to check, but that holds all the clones. You can see we have 2 of these clones, and they come in and out, and that allows you to pull and push some of these graphics. So if I scroll up and look into some of these guys, that shows you what has been applied to this layer in particular. The reason I'm explaining this is because you may want to use another lower third or another type of graphic, and you kind of need to know where to start. You can see I have auto size, which is a type of modifier. This layer has been masked, so that's the output mask. I should have an input mask right here as well. You can see the icons. So this is output, this is input. We have remote control tracker, sequencer in, sequencer out, and more importantly, especially if you want to change the color or texture of your motion design or lower third element, we have motion designer. In the properties, the details, you can see that we have motion designer selected as opposed to just a simple color or a gradient. But the first few steps are, in my opinion, quite important to kind of get the feel for what you're working with and how you can customize them. Once that's done, just understand what each section is what. You can even go ahead and rename these anchor points if you want. For example, chip doesn't make any sense, at least for my case, so I can sort of rename that to logo. Simple as that. So I'll leave it with you to customize, but let's go ahead and make some quick changes to this lower third and customize it to our taste. Let's start by working our way down. I'm gonna start with the main section. I would like to change the background, I would like to add a texture to it, and I would like to have an effect like a wave or flag type of effect to it, and just jazz it up a little bit. Inside the main anchor point, we have the actual main. You can see edit with material design. I'm going to click on it, Perhaps I'm going to dock that right next to my viewport so I have access to both. Usually with material designers, we have 4 main tabs. The first one is the global setting, including the type of shader that you're using, the shading model. In this case, it's unlit and translucent. And the reason for that is when this material was created, it was not a PBR material. It was just an emissive. And with emissive, you just get a single flat color. You can go ahead in the channel and add any channel that you would like to have and turn that current material model into a PBR model. Just showing you in case if you would like to make further changes. We also have opacity, which is a global slider. So I can turn it completely down and bring it all the way up. I'm going to go into emissive and have a look at what I have. Both of these guys have textures. Perhaps I don't need any of them. So I'm going to select the top one, delete, and click here. And instead of texture, I'm going to go with solid color. I can get rid of this texture here as well. So I'm dealing with a flat color and nothing in the alpha. So with the color, I can pick a type of bluish type of color, something like that. So what I'm getting is more or less blue. Now I'm going to add another layer, and this one is going to be a texture. With texture, I live in Australia, so why not picking an Australian flag? That one is kind of overwriting what I have here. Very similar to application packages like Substance Painter or Photoshop, where you have a non-linear layer-based type of user interface where the top layer is completely overwrite the bottom layer. The way that these two interact with each other, there are 2 ways of doing this. If you want to sort of fade one over another, each layer gets its own opacity. So while I'm selecting the flag, I can tone down this one and somehow get a little bit of the color that I have on the layer underneath. That's one way of doing that. I'm going to set it to 1. Another way, which is kind of more common, is to use blending mode or blend modes. For this blend mode, there are so many modes that you can choose based on your taste and your own scenario. I'm going to go to multiply, and that allows me to again mimic that effect. It's a very toned down effect because remember, we are going to have texts on top of this, so we don't want the pattern to be too distractive. Now, as for the first layer, we already have the properties, what we're dealing with. I'm going to click on the flag to have the properties for the layer on the top. And we are going to sort of tweak away as we move forward. And remember, you can always save the level, go into the rundown. You can see I already have the flag in here, but the position of it is kind of inaccurate and it's too rigid. And I want to have a little bit of interactivity to this texture as well. Very important tick box that I always leave on for textures like this is clamp texture UV, because we have something called tiling, and if I tile it down, you can see I'm getting repetition. Whereas if I have this on, the only thing that I'm repositioning is this flag. I'm getting some smearing effect, but that kind of goes underneath this area. So I'm not really too picky about this. So let's quickly add a few things, change a few things, and sort of get it to a position that we want. Maybe offset it more towards the end. And maybe something like that, bring it down ever so slightly. What about the tiling? Perhaps I can kind of tone down on the tiling, maybe 0.8 or 0.87 would be a good one. Pivot 0.5, where you offset it, you can specify where the pivot is going to be. Great for rotation. We really don't need it. Still very rigid. So let's go ahead and add an effect. With the layer selected, I'm going to go to FX. I'm going to go to Distort, and I'm going to pick a ripple. Great when you have something like flag. It adds a little bit of interactivity and it gives you few parameters to change, including frequency. If I set the frequency to 10, you can see those ripples are getting finer. If I set the frequency to 0.5, those ripples are going to get bigger. I think something like 2 or 3 will be just fine. That's the speed of the ripple, and wave width is the distance between each frequency. So I can set it to 5 and it's very, very subtle. I can set it to 1 and it's more prominent. I believe 1 is the default. I can kind of intensify that as well. So let's save and have a look. Now you can see I have a little bit of interactivity, a little bit of ripple effect that works just fine. I think our job is done with this one. Let's go to the next one, and the next one on the list is going to be the text. So very straightforward. Our job is really easy in here. Again, one of those things that you can customize based on your taste. I'm going to go into text and replace what I have with this one right here. It's static. We don't need to do anything else. Let's go to title. Title container first. I'm going to speed up a little bit. Now we know exactly what we should change. So edit with Material Designer. Let's open that one. Go to the opacity, emissive color, solid texture, and replace it with some background color with a little bit of interactivity on top of it. Converting this into a solid color. I don't know why I picked texture. Give it a type of bluish color. That should do it. I'm going to add another layer, and that is going to be a texture. I've got a texture that I've already prepared, which is something like this, and I'm going to use it as a pattern. I've got that ready to go. I'm going to select that and assign that to my palette right here. You can see this is linked to my alpha. So if I have an alpha, where to have an alpha, I can actually move that and it moves my alpha as well. And if I select on it, you can see the alpha is actually obeying the same rules as my texture. Okay, time to customize that a little bit and add some parameters really quickly. I'm going to set the mode of this one to screen, and that allows me to see the color underneath and remove the black. Of course, the intensity of it is too much, so I'm going to put something like 0.1, and I can tweak as I go. Let's change a few of these attributes. Let's play this one more time. You can see those are very rigid, static, not looking the way that I want to. I want to add a little bit of interactivity to it as well. There's a really great effects that I can add to it under Distort. It's called Panner UV. And that adds motion to your effect. Looks perfect. So I'm going to set that to 5 so it moves faster. Give it a little bit of offset here. And I would like to rotate the actual image as well. So rotation, I'm just going to put something that goes diagonally. Perhaps this is still a bit tad too strong. 0.01 should do the trick. That's the magic number. Perfect. Now we have a good grasp of the process. I'm going to speed up the video and take care of the rest of this lower third and get it closer to the finish line. Okay, to broadcasting. If you want to broadcast Unreal Engine Motion Graphics live, you need OBS or a type of open broadcaster software that is preferably free. So I'm using OBS. You can download the installer and install that. Next, you need NDI. Think of NDI like a virtual video cable that runs through your local network. It lets you send the video and audio coming out of Unreal Engine straight into OBS. It's doing it real time, no capture, no messy setup. Basically, Unreal becomes a live camera feed that OBS can see instantly. You go into Windows, if you're working with Windows, and download and install NDI tools. Well, preferably you can use NDI Unreal SDK. The only reason I did not use this tool or SDK is because at the time of the recording is not supporting Unreal Engine 5.7. It's only going up to 5.6 and I'm using 5.7. That's why I'm using NDI tools. Works with any and every version. Next, you need distro AV. Distro AV, I think it was called NDI OBS before. Now they changed the name. Anyhow, you download the package. You go into code, download the zip file, unzip. Then preferably you want to have that on your C drive. And then once you go into your C drive, the whole instructions is in there. You just copy and paste this line here. C drive, you go to the main folder, and then you just copy and paste the line here. It does its thing. It asks whether you agree with terms and conditions. You go yes, and it's going to finish the installation. Simple, run OBS and go to the scene file. You can see I have NDI source, which now communicates with Unreal Engine. By the way, everything I've learned about this section comes from PixelProf Motion Design. They've got some amazing content, huge shout out to them. I've dropped a link to their videos in the description, so definitely check them out and show them some love. Now we have successfully customized our lower third and installed all the necessary components. Let's see how we can broadcast our visuals live. I need OBS Studio for this. So I'm going to open OBS. We need some sort of a video feed in the background. It can be your camera, your webcam, or what have you. I'm going to call that webcam. Let's find your source. This is my source. I should go live now. There I am. I'm going to go full screen, and ideally that lower third should be placed somewhere around here. Now I'm going to go to my lower third and everything is ready to go. I can preview this one out. This is just previewing. We preview our lower thirds here, but to broadcast, we need to go to the main broadcast output. And main broadcast output uses channels. You can see by default we are set to channel 0, and channels are like output lanes or layers for your on-air graphics. It says send this graphic to the main broadcast output. Where can we find this broadcast output? If I click here, we have broadcast. So let's open that up. Let's dock that right next to our lower third. You can see we have channel 0 and it's inactive. The reason that it's identifying everything is because of that NDI tools that we just installed. And if I click on it, this is the source. This is the one that we need to connect to our OBS to see our lower third live. But first things first, we need to go live with our broadcast. Right now it's inactive. You can create a brand new channel and assign another visual to the second channel, but because we have only one channel right now, I can comfortably go start all channels, and you can see I'm going live. From this point onward, it doesn't matter what we preview, we need to check this window instead, because this is our live feed. And instead of previewing, because that doesn't show in the broadcast, we need to take in visuals. So if I select something and go take in and go to broadcast, we have taken in this visual, but still don't see it here because that Unreal Engine output as our source is nowhere to be found in our OBS. So I guess it's time to add another source, NDI source. And you can call this NDI source, you can call this broadcasting or what have you. It says, what is your source name? We know our source name, it's Unreal Engine output. So if you look at the list, the first one is the name of my computer and the second one is the name of the source. And if I go OK, sure enough, I have the visuals. I can go into rundown, take out this one and bring ours here and take in what we have. And this is live broadcasting our rundown visuals. How cool is that? You still can preview what's coming next. You still can preview all of these items, but in order to bring something in, you use take in and you need to make sure your channel is active. So channels are your main feed and a broadcast button is your go live button. And all we did is we linked OBS to the broadcast output window. Simple as that. I hope you found it useful.